Hello and welcome to this edition of Bravas Luxury Living Podcast. If this is the first time you've come to this podcast, thank you very much for joining. If you're a regular, then I would ask you please to go on to the normal liking and sharing and sending it to anybody you know. Send them a link, send them a card, send them something and tell them to come and listen and get in touch with the Bravas Luxury Living Podcast. I have with me, as ever, today Keith from Dallas. How's things going, Keith?
Going very well, Nigel. Good to see you.
Good to see you. We have thunder and lightning here in Austin, Texas, so if you hear bangs and crashes, it's not me falling off the chair. I think it's just a case of the storm that may be coming your way later in the day.
All right.
Well,
I'll be looking out for it.
You'll hear it, that much I can tell you. And with us as well, our guest this week is Eric Randt. Eric is the Director of Sales for Nortek Security and Control. Welcome and thank you for joining us, Eric.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I hope the weather keeps you guys all in your homes and doesn't rupture too much of your day.
Thanks very much. So, Eric, we want to start by making sure we know a little bit about you. Tell us a bit about you and what your background in our industry is.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thanks for having me, guys. I've got a pretty interesting background, at least, if you want to ask me my opinion of it. I've actually had every role in this industry. So I've done the dealer side of it for a short term. Started in the industry, working retail, working almost a decade at Best Buy. And now I've made my way from that now over to the manufacturer side of it, and been with Nortek for about 4 years now.
That's great. So Nortek is a name that many of us know well, but for those of us who don't, tell us who you guys are and what you do.
Yeah, so Nortek Security and Control is basically the umbrella company of 15 other companies. So I know that we're going to spend the majority of time today talking about ELAN, but Nortek is the umbrella company for the industries, some of the industry's most renowned companies. So, take, for example, Panamax. Panamax and Furman are two power companies that invented categories. Nortek owns those two companies. Speakercraft, a company who invented the architectural in-ceiling speaker. Nortek owns that. We also own an access control and a security company, the access control being linear and security being it's the most commonly used wireless security solution, which is 2 gig. So, it's a company that not a lot of people know from a name perspective, but from a brand perspective, again, some of the most reputable names in the industry are inside of this portfolio.
That's amazing, and I think gives us a chance probably to come back and do multiple bites at a Nortek podcast. But I think today we really want to talk about control systems. So this is one of those subjects I think that most differentiates any old sort of integration of technology into a home and really creating a real smart home. So when let's play the cocktail party game. When someone says, okay, you work for Nortek, that's ELAN, what is a control system? What is a home automation system? How do you answer a question like that?
Yeah, the short answer is it's a control system is the thing that ties all of your subsystems that are inside of your house all together. That's the short answer.
So when you say subsystems, let's help people out. What are we talking? What do you think are the basic subsystems that most smart homes today have?
Yeah, and we actually do a lot of studies there, but the most commonly used subsystems that tie into control systems, first and foremost, is audio video. Every control system has some resemblance of audio video inside of it. But then from there, the next ones are climate control. Every home has some resemblance of climate control, and as things like smart thermostats have become more and more popular, climate control gets tied in a lot. You guys at Bravas obviously do a ton of lighting control, so tying lighting control is the next most common thing, and then you kind of go down a little further from there. But we tie in security systems, we tie in garage door control. Tie in all sorts of, even all the way down to pool and spa integration are things that can be tied into a control system and into ELAN.
So you mentioned lighting control. Obviously, that's been a huge growth category for the industry and for Bravas over the last few years. What do you see? I mean, you have visibility of a lot of different segments of the industry. What do you see as kind of the next big opportunity within the industry?
I see lighting control as being, an area that is still fairly untapped in our industry. We start to see these systems, especially from larger luxury homes, even all the way down to custom and semi-custom homes. Lighting control is just taking a bigger and a bigger section of the job and of the install. Honestly, I only see that growing. I know that you guys did a previous podcast a couple of weeks back talking about things like Ketra. Things like that are game changers, and how those things tie in with integrators like Bravas and your locations, how they tie into a control system is an area where it's only going to continue to grow. Being able to change, lighting color conditions and segments based on, your favorite sports team scoring a touchdown. This may be sacrilege to two guys from Texas, but I'm a Vikings fan. A control system. If the Vikings scored a touchdown and you had Ketra, we could have the lights change to purple, and then 30 seconds later go back to natural lighting. That'd be a pretty cool party move, and that's things that a control system can do.
That's assuming the Vikings score a touchdown.
Does not happen very often, but a guy can hold his breath, right?
So you talked about using the control system to make things easier to use. And I think one of the things what product we love from Nortek is 2GIG, because it kind of is making something easier to use. I mean, security systems are notoriously difficult to use and hard to understand. How do you see 2GIG kind of attacking that market?
Yeah, it kind of is control light. So we use 2GIG for a twofold perspective. First and foremost is obviously it's a security system first, and we want to use it to secure the home and give someone, the peace of mind side of it. But now, just having a security system, we got to raise the bar a little bit. So now how can we tie in some very basic, technology to it that a homeowner might already have in their home, or they might acquire from a builder or an integrator? Basic light switches, basic thermostats, those kind of things, and do control light. Be able to have things happen when the garage opens, when the security system disarms. Let's turn on one light, and that's kind of what 2GIG does for us from a control and an automation perspective.
So I'm glad you went there, because I do think one of the things we find a lot is clients seeing kind of more do-it-yourself control systems, and then thinking they're getting a full-blown control system at a lower price. But where do you kind of draw the line between what 2GIG can do and then moving all the way up to what ELAN or a full-fledged control system can do, and how that would be important to a homeowner?
Keith, great question. And it's probably one that a dealer and a manufacturer spends the majority of the time trying to overcome. And one, the easiest way to do it is to use very, very specific words. There's control, and then there's automation. A lot of things can control things. DIY products can control lights. They can have them even turn on a timer and different things like that. But automation and where you have things like ELAN and where you have control systems really, jump in, is that if then. And that's where automation comes in. So yeah, it's very, very easy for a 2GIG panel when your linear garage door opens to have your garage lights turn on. Your car can do that. You open your car door, your light turns on. That's, automation 101. But now let's take it one step further, is that when your gate opens or when a vehicle enters your driveway, let's have the exterior lights do something. Let's have the exterior lights do something different if the security system happens to be armed. Let's have the exterior lights do something different if the security system isn't armed, meaning that you're home. Somebody walks to your front door. Let's have something else happen. It's all of those things of, I always try to paint these if-then pictures, and that's where it becomes very, very specific to what the power of the system can be for the end user. Because, a control system is really, how do you want your home to work when you do X? What do you want your home to do when you wake up? What do you want your home to do when you come home, from traveling? What do you want your home to do when your kid wakes up in the middle of the night and is sleepwalking, which actually happens in my home. And my ELAN system does. It is absolutely terrifying. but my ELAN system does things when that happens. And that's a cool thing that, why we love working with you guys is that you guys think through those things with your clients when you sit down, and really, really unleash the horsepower of our systems.
One of the questions I know one of our colleagues, I guess, was having with someone last week was the debate of how much of the house needs to be automated. And maybe to us it's a strange question. You've heard this before, but they were like, well, do I have to do the closets? Do I have to do upstairs? Do I have to do the third bedroom which no one stays in? Is that a common conversation, and how would you debate or discuss that with them?
And the cool thing is when you put a system inside of a home, you can really start and stop anywhere. From a budgetary perspective, if our systems really, have a more of a scale that is put in place based on what you guys want to do to kind of take care of the homeowner. So when it comes down to it, you can break the home into different segments, add things later. Grow the system as it changes. My son is 4. I jokingly said he sleepwalks now. Let's hope he's not sleepwalking at 14. And how our home responds at that age is probably going to be very, very different. And, like you said, Nigel, absolutely a homeowner can pace themselves how their needs see fit. But, yeah.
So I guess on the other side of that is the question of a remodel. So we're often called in, like I'm sure you are, to people who are remodeling their home. How much of this needs to be done at the first build and is easy to add afterwards?
It really, from a remodel perspective, depends upon how far of a remodel we're taking into consideration. If the short answer is absolutely. You can do this in a remodel, no question about it. A lot of our stuff works wireless and doesn't require a wire to be permanently run to it. But then there's other pieces of it that do require some wiring. So, the short answer, yes. But in some cases, infrastructure and having the wiring in place, does make it easier and does make it a little less invasive.
Speaking of how far can you take things, I saw that one of your third-party vendors recently wrote a Tesla driver, so you can actually view what's happening with your car from your ELAN system. And to me, that's as Jetsons as it gets. I mean, that is one of those really cool things that just goes from being controlling these certain subsets of the home that were really, really sharply defined to now, like, we're going to be able to talk to just about anything. How have you seen that change? I mean, does ELAN see that as a good thing, that now we're kind of being able to put our fingers into just about any part of into the home?
So the other day, Keith, I was listening to the radio, and someone said that the next trend in the smart areas was smart rugs. So, one thing, just because something can be smart doesn't necessarily mean it should.
Okay, we have to ask. No. We have to ask, what is a smart rug and what is a stupid rug? Because that's, I think, the question that it's going to keep everybody up at night now.
Oh, 100%. Well, a dumb rug would be one that is in my office. A smart one would be probably one that's in yours. But no, all jokingly aside, there's a sensor built into the rug that actually tells you how much dirt particles are inside of the rug. And that is considered a smart rug. And of course, it connects via Wi-Fi. So, yeah, absolutely insane. But going, that is, in all honesty, that is kind of our motto when it comes to, just because something is smart doesn't necessarily mean that it should integrate into a control system or integrate into an ELAN system. But, very valuable and important things that are important to people's, homes and their properties and their lifestyles. Yeah, we want to be able to control that kind of stuff. And the Tesla driver, Keith, that you bring up is a perfect example of that. One of the new cooler products that we came out with in the last couple of years is our interactive touch panels, and they came out about a year ago. But how powerful is it to go to your ELAN system, to go to your touch panel, have a little Tesla logo on it, look at it, and be able to see, how the batteries are charged. This driver basically, you can check the climate inside the car. You can set the climate. You You can do battery status limits, all of these kind of things. And it's just a way to tie in all of these other things. Now I jokingly, I said yesterday when our press release came out on it, now all I need to do is find somebody who can get me a Tesla so that I can happily beta test that.
I know a guy. We just got to get him an ELAN system.
Hey, let's publicly out all of us on doing something we shouldn't do then right now. I'll get him an ELAN system if he gets me a Tesla.
I have a Tesla, but you're not having it. So, one of the things I know that people worry about is the complexity of using some platforms. So I think people are scared of, the 300 buttons. How much work do you guys put into really helping do the sort of user experience, user design testing, which makes that sort of work, or makes the use by a sort of regular human being, not a techno person, easy?
Yeah, and the control system is only as good as the lowest common denominator of the person who has to use it, and who has to live with it. And the overall end user experience is the most important thing, and really what we pride ourselves at ELAN. I've got a great relationship. I'm out of Minneapolis, so I've got a great relationship with your Minneapolis branch. And one of your staff members, Angie Casey, said it absolutely perfectly when I asked her about ELAN. She said that the benefit of ELAN is that anyone from 4 to 94 can use our systems. And that's the cool thing. And we really, Nigel, we really try to pride ourselves on the end user experience, putting it down in front of someone, putting it down in front of, anyone. And how do the pages go together? How do they jump? How do we make this that it is the least number of button presses to get something to happen?
I think you should be really proud of that. That one of the things, ELAN is not the only control system we sell out of the Dallas market. And one thing I find is that if we have clients who think they want the functionality benefits of a control system but are scared of having one, we look at ELAN right away because it is so easy for someone to pick up and use. And what we find is people think early on that the less they put in the control system, the happier they're going to be and the more they'll understand it. But what we try to explain to them is actually the more you get in there, well, now you only have to learn this one interface. And the more you interact with it, the more it becomes just a natural extension of your home. And so congrats on making something that is very, very user-friendly and very easy to use, because we've really enjoyed that aspect of it.
I have nothing to add there. Thank you, Keith.
Okay, so I'll go back the other way then and say, as somebody who's just getting a system into my house for the first time, my biggest issue is I don't know what I should be automating. So I don't know what scenes I should be creating. So do you have like a top 3, top 5, top things that you say every good home automation scene setting environment should have in it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one is I always want to have a system to have a good morning scene and a good night scene. Those are the absolute first ones. And again, I said it at the beginning here. What do you want your home to do when? So Nigel, when I know it's you and your wife and your home, but what is it that you do every morning when you wake up?
So, we'll turn on the lights, we may open some of the shades, we might put the TV on, and that's probably, for us, the majority of what we do first thing in the morning.
Perfect. So a perfect good morning scene that can be done. And now the cool thing is now we start talking about how can we activate this scene. So we can do it through voice. We can do it, and I'm not going to say it because I have both of them sitting on the shelf behind me, and one from the A word and one from the G word. So we're not going to say either of those trigger words right now. But, you can do that. You can do it from remote control. You can do it from a button press. You can even do it from a timer. So if you wake up at the same time. But now let's take Nigel's home. When you activate good morning at a set time or a code word, we could have the shades lift up to a certain height. We could have the lights dim up. We talked about Ketra. we could follow the circadian rhythm of the sun and have the lights come up to exactly the light temperature of the time that you wake up during the morning. If you had audio in your bathroom, so this is the way it works in my home when Good Morning is activated. And by the way, I've got this in my home, everything short of Ketra. But when you walk in and say, activate that scene, the master bathroom in my home goes to my sports talk radio station out of Minneapolis. And then the master bedroom TV turns on to the Today Show because my wife watches that every single morning. That is a perfect example of a good morning scene. A good night scene, exact opposite. Let's turn off everything in the house. Let's make sure all the AV is turned off, that you're not running, your audio control amplifier hasn't been running, just doing low power draw to, because it didn't turn off or something. Let's turn off all the audio video. Let's turn off all the speakers. Let's, maybe you have a pathway scene for lights that just puts a little light inside the home so that the home is not pitch black. That's a perfect good night scene. Drops all the shades, different things along those lines. And then from there, you get really the fun scenes. And, the fun scenes are, hey, you come home and it's dark. Let's take Minneapolis again. Here in about a month and a half, the sun is going to go down at about 4:30 at night.
That's the afternoon.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'm starting to get depressed. This is where I start crying. But no, when your garage door opens, let's, and when your garage door opens, let's set a pathway scene so that your wife who's coming home from work, assuming we'll ever get to go back to work, in an office building, doesn't have to walk through a dark home. I always talk about, a control system is always about convenience, comfort, and safety. Let's have your home give you peace of mind by doing things when you would like it to do it based on other things, like opening your garage door.
Yeah, I can tell you one of the ones, strangely enough, which is sort of the opposite end that we use most, is the away one, or the leaving home to make sure. And I think if you've never had that sort of capability before, you probably don't know what you're missing.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. And the away one, and even while you're pulling away, having a push notification from your ELAN system sent to your phone that just says, Nigel's away mode activated. We have that in my home where the system just double checks itself to make sure that, yep, your away mode is activated. All the shades have been drawn, dropped, different things along those lines.
Yeah. One of the first things we did with our ELAN system in our previous house was we had the door lock, and it would tell us who came into the home. We would get a message when somebody came into the house. It would tell us who came into the home. But while it's doing that, it's also turning on the lights for them and setting the HVAC for them. And I always thought that was really fun. One, that it was letting us know what was going on, but also making the home comfortable for the people that were, helping us with kids, helping us with dogs. That was something we found really powerful.
Yeah, personalization is a big one. Automation and control is all fun, but now let's have the phone let's have the home react based on who's doing things. So, like you pointed out, Keith, everybody has their own door code. Let's have the home do different things when the door code is activated. We're pushing the envelope really far on things like analytics as well. So, our goal not too far down the road is to have an external camera be able to recognize the vehicle that is coming in and have the home do different things based on things like analytics as well. So,
yeah, I was wondering whether you were getting close to when I come into the house, you recognize it's me and you adjust visually from a control panel.
Yeah, and that is where we are at right now today with, I alluded to our intelligent touch panel. Right now, you can walk up to our intelligent touch panel and it'll recognize your face, and it will go as far as saying, good afternoon, Keith, good afternoon, Nigel. And what it'll do is it will give you your favorites. So your lighting scenes, your music favorites, your channel favorites, different things like that. And that is step one. Step two is we're going to take it to the point where when you interact with that touch panel, it'll know that you take, for example, let's use my wife. My wife, my ELAN system can control my irrigation. It controls a bunch of subsystems that my wife has never used, nor will she ever use, and actually is kind of annoyed that I even thought it would be cool to put them on there. But where we're taking this is that my wife, when she interacts with the touch panel, she can see her background, her icons, her channel favorites, and get rid of the things that she doesn't want to ever use. And, Keith, you talked about, house guests and people helping you with your kids and different things like that. How cool is it going to be that when, let's say a guest walks into your home, a lot of times you don't want a guest to have access to things. You don't want them to have access to your security system, other than to arm or disarm, but you don't want them to have access to maybe your cameras or your master bedroom. We're going to take it to the point that when a guest interacts with those smart touch panels, that they don't get to see things that the end user doesn't want them to see.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wonder whether there's also a question of integration with other systems. So you talked about working with Ketra, which is obviously not owned by you guys, owned by somebody else. How important is it in designing this that you have an open versus a closed system? We're very used to sort of the Apple versus Microsoft view of the world nowadays. How do you guys see that sort of open versus closed approach?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Nigel. We don't make everything. We don't want to make everything. And our approach is if we can't make the best of something, our goal is to partner with the best. And what we do is we don't make lighting. Okay, great. But what we do is we partner with companies like Lutron. And we make it so that our integration that we offer through ELAN and through Bravas, we try to make it as easy as possible for you guys to integrate third-party things into our systems without a robust amount of recreating and re-engineering. So we don't do that. If we, but what we do, if we can push the envelope on something and take, for example, like we make ELAN branded surveillance cameras. The reason we do that is because we wanted to make the end user experience better. So in ELAN, we allow an end user, one of your clients, to be able to view their recorded data from inside the ELAN interface without having to jump into a different interface. We did that because we wanted to create a better end user experience. So yeah, we try to make as much as possible to make the integration for you guys, for Bravas, better. But if we can't make the best of something, we're going to partner with the best, and we've got those relationships, just like you guys do.
I'll give you a big high five on the surveillance integration, because that has been the clunkiest thing for our clients to interact with before integrating that in. And I mean, just what a great value proposition for clients. We're taking something that they wanted to have and making it where they can actually use it. So I do have one question. You mentioned analytics. Tell me why that's not creepy. Like, what are you doing to secure people's data and not have them be worried that they're
absolutely. No, and Keith, great question, because in the world that we live in today, personal security is more important than ever. The first and foremost is when we do analytics, there's two types of analytics. You either do it in the cloud or you do it locally. And first and foremost, when we do analytics, it's actually done at the camera level. It's actually not done outside of the home and outside of the gear that you guys are installing. So when we're telling, the other piece of it is to also know is, when we talk analytics, I'm trying to do notifications of things like, hey, that thing that entered your driveway, that's a car. On top of it, that thing that is walking up your driveway is a person. So we're not taking it as far as, okay, that is John Smith, and John Smith is Nigel's neighbor, and he is 6'2", 195 pounds. All we're trying to do is let's tell the difference between a person and a vehicle, do things with the system based on that, so that when you're viewing your camera data, I just want to look at every time a car entered my driveway. Let's filter that. Boom. Here's all the cars that entered your driveway. So we're doing very raw analytics. But then again, like I said, to answer, going back to your question, it's all done locally. Nothing leaves the system. Doesn't go into a cloud. It doesn't go into anywhere like that. It's all done locally. And even if an end user is viewing the information from outside of the network, they're still actually dialing straight into the controller and doing it as if they were looking at it from inside the home and inside. You're not doing anything outside in a cloud or on the edge or anything like that.
I think that's a really important element. And by the way, there are probably 100 other questions that might be occurring to people watching or listening to us. So if there are, put them in the discussion below. Send them. If we get enough questions, Eric will drag you back, maybe to discuss some of the other members of the Nortek family. But before we let you go, we do these 3 questions we always want to know people's answers to. So short answers if you can, but here are the 3 questions. Number 1, what piece of home technology do you think you could most not live without?
Well, the corporate answer would be my alarm system, but actually I will tell you, the real thing, I couldn't live without my lighting control system. Having lights turn on automatically for me, and more importantly, turn them off. Biggest pet peeve. I can't stand lights that are left on.
And by the way, editorial point, I don't think you know how good a lighting control system is till you've used one. You cannot explain it. You cannot explain an away button or a morning button or an evening button until you've experienced it. Okay, second question. Is there a job that you've done recently, or is there some piece of implementation from ELAN or one of your other family of products you've seen recently that made you go, wow, that's amazing?
So there is there's 2 of them. So I'll give you one. There's going to be a bunch of cool marketing videos that are coming out about ELAN, about a project in LA that'll blow your end users' minds and your clients' minds about what we can do. So that one, a little teaser there. Secondly, there's one in Silicon Valley that a dealer out there actually automated an entire side facade of a home. So it was actuated and lifted the entire side of the house up and retracted it back in. It was like a retractable roof on a stadium. They did this on the side of a house, and it transitioned 2 pools together. Wow. It was like insane.
Can I use this to automate my Christmas lights? I guess that's the other question.
You really backed up from automating the side of the home to your Christmas lights.
Okay, and finally,
yes.
But okay. Well, that's more my style, I guess. The third of our questions is, what thing hasn't yet been invented? What gadget, device, piece of automation maybe has yet to be invented that you would really love to see done?
The funny thing is, if it hadn't been invented and I knew it should be, I don't know if I would publicly tell you guys right now. It'd be one of those like patent pending things. But what I will tell you, I think is then, along those lines, I think that, the world we live in with the pandemic and those things, I think the health sector and how we as a residential group interact with the health sector, wearables and things like that, I think that is going to be the next area where we're going to have to get our hands wrapped around it really, really quickly to really take peace of mind for our end users.
Well, I think that's probably most appropriate, all given the last few months of all our lives. Listen, Eric, we're really grateful for the time. I'm sure there'll be other questions and other times to come back. But for the moment, from both Keith and I, thanks very much.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thanks for your time, Eric.